very nice to meet everyone on the panel today. And I look forward to this conversation that we're about to have on time, timelessness, timely of the time, the zeitgeist, which means the spirit of the time. And I look forward to interesting and diverse opinions on something that's been talked about since the beginning of time, literally. So tell me, Aditi, where do you see architecture placed within the spectrum? There are people who believe that it should be of the time to represent the time, the material, the technology. And there are people who believe that, what was can always be what is.
Yeah, so I think I can, for me and speaking for my studio, we always looking at the traditional wisdom that came with architecture that has really stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And moreover, I think as the time goes, as we move forward with materials, with experiences that everybody, has been evolved in a way, right?
True.
So I think it's the same traditional knowledge which we are all evolved into and then is being translated into a newer version of today.
Right.
And I think that's where we are, where it's not like a absolute different understanding of space.
Yeah.
It's maybe a synonymous understanding of the same space, and then we're relating it in a different time today.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, using the age-old wisdom and techniques, not letting that go, but perhaps then just reinvestigating things in,
That's right. Yeah.
the advantage of what today brings us. Yeah. How do you think that time informs your studio and design, Aruna?
For us, with a kind of education background or the kind of research that goes into each of the project, and 17 years of experience in the industry, we always try and be respectful about the past and be mindful about what is done so far. But at the same time, we try and create, our own narratives to the each of the project. And I can safely say, because we do a project of, let's say, calendar to a town plan sort of a scale, I think the rigor and the process is pretty much the same. And I think it comes, like Aditi was saying, of deeper understanding of what was the past and what is relevant. And therefore, maybe it becomes timeless. That's what we think. And I think all of us aspire our projects to be timeless in whatever.
Yeah.
So, but that only time and people can tell whether it is timeless.
That's right.
Yeah.
And at the same time, while timelessness is used as a way to transcend periods and phases and trends, one could also argue that, for instance, the Eiffel Tower was built for its time.
Yeah.
With the use of material that only that time could provide. And it's become the thing in the world that people go to. It's palpable, the emotion people feel when they stand there. And that was not being built for any reason other than using exactly that time period to do what Gustave Eiffel felt that he could. Or the Taj Mahal, for instance.
Yeah.
The ability to use the craft of that time.
Yeah.
And that itself is timeless in that sense.
Yeah.
That they are etched in that zone with the Mughal ethos, their philosophy, the passion and the sentiment. So is timelessness always an advantage? What do you think?
Timelessness is always an advantage. I think times are changing now. Everybody wants fast-paced things, right? Like be it from fashion, be it from food, and the same happening with architecture as well. Everybody wants really quick buildings within a matter of no time. We want make timeless structures and things like that. But in our studio, it takes time. We want to mull over things. We want to understand what we're making. We want to involve all the stakeholders into the process, and then sort of build it step by step, and make it very sensitive in terms of the context or in terms of who are we catering to and things like that. And we're asking the right, the entire timelessness happens probably with asking the right questions. Why are we doing what we're doing? And now when you look at the spans of our building, how it was probably about 100 years ago, these great buildings that were there, is still standing strong. And now today, probably the building's lifespan is maybe about like hardly 13, 40 years. So that is the evolution that, like, are we truly making things to make it timeless, to stand 100 years, the next 100 years, or next 200 years? So when you have such questions, you sort of mull over in a very different light.
Yeah. And also the predicament, the precarious predicament that we all face in today's time, because it's unambiguously more chilling than any other time that we've lived in.
Yeah.
Right, Sunita?
Yeah.
Today is not yesterday.
Yeah.
When we grew up, at least I did, it wasn't the same set of scenarios that we today face, with climate change, with material depletion, with landfills, with just the fear that the baton is being passed to the next generation. And what is it that we need to do to stop thinking aesthetically about timelessness and think more technically about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, though it's not a new principle, it's always going back to being simple and fundamental and functional about things. It's always been there, and I don't think there is a new norm to that,
Yeah.
trends and, all these new situations of new technology. Like now you're looking at AI coming in and
Right.
disrupting lives in so many different ways. But I think it always goes back to those basics, about being very functional, being simple, making aesthetics a part of it, but functionality is primary.
Yeah.
So I don't think the conditions that come and hit us over time is going to change that. I think you stick to the fundamental principles of doing design that's, that serves a region or the culture, which is going to remain for a long time.
Design.
Yeah.
Doshi philosophy of, just being rooted to the earth and using local materials, and
That's
avoiding the excess and the largesse, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because I certainly feel like I'm taking a step back and reanalyzing, because we should. I mean, it is a new environment that we are confronted with, a new set of challenges. And how does one make for the time, which is this time, unlike any other time prior? How do you feel about this time? And are you flexing or pivoting in any way to be able to cater for that?
See, as long as we are rooted in the context and we are true to that, I feel timelessness often comes in naturally. So there was a time when probably in the past that we were building, buildings for the royalty, essentially.
Yeah.
And there were two types of buildings. You had the buildings for the, the labor class or the working class, and the buildings which were for the royalty. And those royalty, the buildings were a symbol of strength, like probably what we have today in Mukesh Ambani's house. It shows a symbol of strength. And whether it's timeless or not is for people to decide. But the whole perspective here is that we have different kinds of building. We have a lot of functionality going in. There are buildings which need change, which need, adaptive reuse, which comes across a period of time, because society is evolving much faster in this time cycle than it ever did before.
Yeah.
So we are seeing mixed use coming in, like probably school buildings which are used for part of the day are now being used for something else after the school hours. So the functions are changing, the needs are changing, but the intent of design need not change. So as long as we are true to the design, and I feel that function and aesthetics is something which flows together as a journey, that when we sit and put our pen to the paper, and when we do it with a lot of passion, a lot of dedication, a lot of research, I think the solutions emerge very naturally, where we create a fluid influence which becomes timeless.
So who among us here really thinks that timelessness is this wonderful attribute that has been given? And who believes that there's an ambiguity? Do you believe that being timeless is the way to be? Or is there a nice playground in between where you kind of imprint the time in which we live, because we have lived in our way with our, tools of design and our independence, just like there are no, two thumbprints or snowflakes. Why should there be engineering design that's just carried over the generations because it feels familiar?
I think in our pursuit as designers, we need to look at design which are timeless. We have to strive towards timelessness, because in that process, you ask the right questions. We've been always taught about form follows function and things like that. Now look at our cities. What are we making? It's just because there's no shadows to our building, there's no texture to our building, there's no tactility. Is this what we want to live in our future? The cities are losing character. So in our designs, we need to sort of inculcate the character of a building, or what is the personality which is going to last for the next generation, or even after that we're adding character to our cities. And when you ask these kind of questions, you sort of like go towards a design process, which is a process of kind of elimination, that you're sort of every step of the way that you keep thinking that, is it right? Am I taking the right step? Or is it required? And then through that, I think the process becomes very timeless, or the building itself becomes very timeless. So that's one way to look at it. And also, we've been always taught, as what Indrajit was talking about, the form follows function, and it's probably about 70 years old now, that entire philosophy. But I think it has to sort of adapt to today's needs. And it's just not about the function anymore. It's about how a building can create an emotion. It has to sort of give a feeling into a building. And that is what we need to strive at as designers, that it's just not merely about the function, but it's also about how we can emote in a building and how people are feeling inside it. And then when you are in that pursuit, you're like really being sensitive about every corner of a building.
Yeah. So, time is the one thing that we all have in equal measure. No matter what else we have or do not have, we all have 24 hours in the day. We all have a finite time to live. And how we use that time is also pertinent to our craft, to ourselves first, and how we use it. So in this context, I was fascinated when I spoke with Indrajit before this session, when he talked about this ability to bend time in a way that's spiritual.
Yes.
Tell me a little more about that.
So the whole experience is an outworldly experience, where you understand that you are one small bit of the cosmos. So when we talk on any panels about talking our vision, our studios, what we do, we are very, it is something like where we are all full of ourselves.
Yeah.
And this is a energy that shows you that you're just a small microcosm of the universe. And we are here to lead a process, a journey that we try to do. And the whole ideology here is that whatever we do, we try to do it in the best that we can. Because the beauty and the sense of creation that I saw, and what we see on planet Earth, I feel what I envisioned there was something way beyond. And it makes you understand that we are a very, very small microscopic part of the whole universe. And we have been given this time on planet Earth, live it fully and experience it well. So probably like whether it's design, whether it's a life, whether it's a lifestyle, or probably this conversation. So getting a matter of interest, humor, happiness, and joy, I think that's the most critical thing in the whole planet. So I think this is how we should enjoy our journey across life.
How is time well spent for you?
Doing things that I really enjoy. There are so many things that do that. Like Indrajit was saying, trekking is a huge passion of mine.
No way. We have to have this chat after this. So I picked up Machu Picchu. It sounds like I was with him. I wasn't.
The feeling of like understanding and assimilating the fact that we're just a small bit of the much larger picture, and not to kind of give ourselves that much importance. But I think as architects, eventually what I think we bring to the table is to try and make somebody's life or emotion kind of that much better in the spaces that they grow up. So I think the satisfaction that we get from that in impacting people's lives with what we do, the whole process of getting there obviously is very, very chaotic, but seeing the eventual, result of it is greatly satisfying. But I always take time off to myself to kind of rejuvenate and do things that I enjoy. That keeps me going, So I think, it's very important.
While your art, I mean, if you're not and as artists and architects, if you don't feel that pause within, there's nothing you can give your craft.
Reflect in your work. Yeah. So, other thing.
Then
Has time stopped? When has time stopped for you?
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think time stops for me at various occasions. I think, there's not that one same moment that time stops for me, So sometimes when, say that, for example, if I'm just talking from the work perspective, if there's a certain project that, that me personally or as a studio, we've been waiting for a really long time to still sort of get that outlet and make it happen.
Wow.
And I think that's the moment it really feels like, let's just do this, right? And that's when work just becomes celebration. Incredible. And we try and make this as often as possible as a studio.
Yeah.
Well, other than work, I think for me, it's, since I'm also a landscape architect, and for me, it's really about, a lot of times going to the nurseries, I already know which plants are here inside, how they've been doing. So, so, that's
your plant.
I do. Yeah. I think they reciprocate as well.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Only recently have I moved into a new place, which we built for the new office and homes. I actually walk in and everyone's smiling because I say, "Hi, beauty. How are you doing, dear?" And they're loving it. I'd rather be talking to them than most others. And
So otherwise, I also absolutely they are. And otherwise, I'm also a lot into jigsaws. So so I just finished Frank Lloyd Wright, and I'm just doing a Van Gogh one now. So it's very very felt to hear the jigsaw. It depends on. I don't know, make it work. Make it work. So I just do it as and when. So there's something happening, and then I come back after a few days and
meditate.
Make it. Yeah. So it's always different at different times. So yeah.
The plants here.
Yeah. The botanical nails.
Okay. And
Yeah. So for me, time really stops when I don't look at my phone. So it is like that. So I'm actually making a point of not looking at my phone and doing activities which are away from my phone.
Yeah.
So apart from work, when I'm playing golf, it is a great time when I'm not looking at my phone or anything. I'm in my own world. That's really that helps me a lot in terms of work life. In terms of balancing work, I'm an artist, so I paint quite a bit, and so sometimes I leave my phone aside and just play some nice music, enjoy that. And apart from that, I think in design process as well, I really sometimes really enjoy it. It's very meditative for me, the design process, just sketching out or just evolving design and things like that. So I just sometimes lose time in that. I don't realize my days, just suddenly it's 7 o'clock in the evening. I'm like, wow, it's the quickest day ever. So it's like that.
of time.
Yeah.
Don't you always feel like time sometimes just passes in the blink of an eye?
Oh, yeah.
And at other times, it just lingers heavily.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing, who you're with, what you're frame of mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there is the 24 hours, but that's just numerical.
Yeah.
Other than that, how the days pass.
Depends on what you like doing, and
Depends on so many factors.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that you should start liking everything. So even I like the client chaos, contractors delaying stuff, tantrums happening. So once all those things are happening, I see people get very involved and affected. I start enjoying that process too. So So the whole fun there is that you see a lot of energies being flowing around. And the beauty of that is we get so involved in that situation, we think it's a very big thing. But if you actually relax and look back, it's extremely entertaining.
And for that,
And then it comes up like a big curve and then it dissipates again.
yeah.
So the moment you understand these kind of things, I feel even that's fun.
Yeah.
So then you can have fun every time,
Yeah.
all the time.
So that's related to the time on the planet, right?
The doctor, the ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The time on the planet changes how you perceive everything. Maybe 20 years ago, that chaos wouldn't bother you.
It did bother me. Yes, but now it doesn't.
Exactly. So that I think you temper with time, and time becomes more precious because there's less of it. Your mortality. When you reach a certain age, you said, "Oh, I have lived more than I expect to," and then you take stock of all your time because that's all you got.
Yeah.
And then your decisions are informed by, "I will not let this get in my way."
Yeah.
I just don't have the energy for it.
Yeah.
So what are the things you've eliminated, or how do you see time from a renewed standpoint?
For people who know me, I love people. I just love being outdoors, whether it's hiking or being just on the road. Not other than even it's just not hiking. Even for me, encounters on the road. She may be talking to plants. I talk to animals. I love dogs. In fact, I love going to my daughter's school to see children playing and their happy faces and unbiased, fightings and whatever. So, having said that, my profession, I'm also urban designer. So for me, all that encounters, like you said, adds a lot of, So that kind of culminates in my work, wanting to see what each person or, perceptions of each one's on the ground. So for me, I really like being outdoors, talking to people, anybody. It can be anybody, from a housemate to anybody. So having conversations with them, understanding, for me, that gives a lot of...
Much easier to talk to a stranger than someone you know.
Yeah.
I've done that. And for me, a city is all about are the people friendly enough for me to walk up to a person, put it on my GPS and say, how do I get to that place?
Yeah.
Because I just want to have a chat.
Exactly. Yeah. So it just comes very naturally. And I think it's fun sometimes. And encounters are great. Yeah.
Encounters with people you don't know.
Yeah.
Both in the country in which you live as well as outside.
Yeah.
And they show you so much about, much more than a museum or even, kind of rhetoric about the country.
Yeah.
So, if they have a soul, I go back.
Yeah. Yeah. And that creates memories and a lot of things that you can talk about later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the evolution of time in our lives, which then informs how we see projects and their timeline.
Right. Yeah.
And with it, and work. Yeah. So, what are the pursuits that keep you, just sometimes riding that wave over time so you don't constantly feel its effect and its power away? What are those things that you do?
I've been powerless, honestly, because the thing that I find in huge shortage is time.
Yeah.
And I think the way our civilization is going today, I think everyone feels the shortage of time. Because doing the mundane tasks have become more complicated. So then how best you can use that? Like just going to an airport is a task today.
Yeah.
So it's how nicely you can do that journey and what do you do within it becomes very critical. So the whole point is modulating your lifestyle with the context in it. It's not just about work and making best of whatever you have. So that's why I don't dislike the phone too sometimes, because it keeps me connected with the world, with people I have not been connected with. And you meet them probably after a gap of, I met somebody yesterday night and I'm meeting him after 3 years and I know whatever he's up to.
Yeah, what is other two? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I guess that's just a point, and each one has to decide for themselves.
I think it's a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a choice each one make. I'm also on the phone, but then I'm doing some mindless things to disconnect from what is real.
Yeah.
Otherwise, my husband always says you have a gift of switching off. Yeah, we were having this conversation in the car. Once I come home, I don't want to do. That's a choice somebody made. Paul can wait. I need to give my time to something else. That's a choice, I think you make.
all choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time is finite, and we live our lives and we create these buildings with such passion. And the dreams we have are so much stronger than the fragility of our lives.
True.
And then we are gone, and the buildings, do they stand the test of time? Do they not?
Yeah.
And honesty that you believe that you can inform your craft. And that comes with a good living of a life.
Yeah.
Whatever that might take. It might be going to Peru or talking to animals or plants or, trekking. But all of that is just our effort to be able to sit down there honestly and that pencil starts moving. To be able to say, well, hopefully a life well lived will determine the course and destiny of the minute space.
Yes. Well wrapped up.
Yeah.